Now, the recent devastating floods in KwaZulu-Natal have prompted widespread research into the impact of climate change and associated risk in major South African cities. A recent assessment in the Tshwane metropolitan area suggests that more than 35,000 dwellings are situated in an indicative flood line. The research further revealed that every second city and town is projected to suffer increased flooding by mid-century. Joining us now to discuss mitigation strategies, early warning signs or systems, a town planning strategy, is Tshwane MMC for Human Settlements, Abel Tau. Good to have you with us. Good evening.
Good evening, Babu Mjoli, and thank you for having us.
Yeah, accurate number, 35,000 dwellings, mostly in informal settings located below the indicative flood line.
Look, it is pretty accurate from what we see. There's about 65 informal settlements that are sitting in that space. Therefore, you would obviously, given the current calculations, that would be pretty much correct. But as a city, Babu Mjoli, it's always difficult to grapple with the challenges that we have. I mean, there's a huge inward migration that happens as a result of people looking for better opportunities. And as a metro, we're always going to be challenged. And therefore, it becomes very, very important that, you would know that we are also cash-strapped as a city. And with all these challenges that we are facing, we really need to respond to the call of nature. And this challenge is one that we believe we can meet head-on as a city.
Yeah. One of the areas that you and I have constantly been talking about is the Esterfabriek area. And, the call there is, at what point are you going to close off that area? Because those are some of the suggestions as far as zoning is concerned. There's lack of enforcement. So zone that area and close it, enforce and make sure that nobody builds there. But not only that, then provide alternative place for where those people are going to go.
Look, providing an alternative place is exactly what we plan and intend on doing. I am happy to realize that lately there is better cooperation between us and the provincial government, whereby they are advanced, we are at an advanced stage of acquiring the land that's necessary and being able to relocate. We've got our relocation plan in place, and really we do believe that hopefully before we get into the next rainy season, we would have removed everyone. But you are correct, Thabo, to say we need to make sure that we cordon off areas that are prone to flooding and make sure that they are not reinvaded, because people have learned that they stay longer in our housing demand lists, and therefore if they put themselves in spaces where they know they need to be prioritized, then we will prioritize them. And you cannot really blame them for doing that, because when people have been waiting so long, I mean, you've got like over 210,000 people who are on the housing demand register sitting in back rooms for the past, 15, 20 years. And therefore, you would understand the frustration that people have. But we've got mitigating plans. One of the things that we're looking firmly on is to ensure that as part of our budget processes, we budget well so that we've got adequate resources to fight illegal land occupation. As unfortunate as that is, that we have to obviously put money aside to make sure that that happens, but it's a better strategy than what we currently have, where we now have to find alternative land and equally make sure that before we even find that land, we are providing rudimentary services in the form of chemical toilets and water, which is an expense. Therefore, we have realized that we can spend a little bit into combating, illegal land invasion and make sure that we talk to our people. But above everything, we are also becoming very innovative. I mean, with our sister departments, your Metro Police in the community safety, but also in the agriculture part, where we are looking at these open spaces and involving the communities, working with councillors to make sure that they can start community food gardens and those kinds of schemes, whereby these pieces of land that are either on the green belt or places that are not fit for human habitation. At least what you can do is then start a way of saying, how do we secure them and make sure that the community is involved? So there's plans really, and all that is left now for all of us is to make sure that we work with the communities, but above everything that we actually implement plans, because we're good at planning as South Africans, but the implementation is always what lets us down.
700 shacks, in particular the issue that we're talking about with Esterfabriek in 2019, were demolished. In what seems like we were caught off guard, right? And 4 years later, do we have early warning systems in place now in Tshwane? And how are we going to respond better?
Look, the emergency services in Tshwane have always been on top of their games. We do have, early warning systems. Our EMS are always ready, but I don't think that is enough. I think what you've said right at the beginning is what we need to really be fixated upon, is to make sure that we prevent illegal land occupation, but above everything that we ensure that we educate the community and make sure that those pieces of land where we know that are prone to flooding should we have heavy rains are not going to be occupied. And one of the things that we tend to not take advantage fully of, which we have started to leverage on, it's the eyes and ears that are always out there. I mean, through our sister departments, we've got 20 bus services who the drivers are driving throughout the city every day. They see, these settlements mushrooming, and they should be able to really talk to us and say, hang on, there's something happening in this area, so that we intervene as quickly as we possibly can within the prescript of the law. That allows you to say if someone stays there for 48 hours, which is really pressing on all of us, to say we really need to react that fast. But these are some of the interventions that we put in. Talking to our electricity department to say when you go out there to go and fix the street lights and fix, the power failures, tell us when you see people invading land. The same thing we do with the different sister departments, your water department. And I think you will see that soon it will start yielding the kind of results that we want, because we have said as this coalition government now that we need to ensure that there's zero new informal settlements. And if we can achieve that, then we can deal with the current backlog.
How are you going to do that? I mean, what sort of regulation are you going to put in place? Because the suggestion here is that space of informal settlements has got to be heavily regulated, but not only just regulated, but enforcement needs to happen.
No, absolutely, and that's the attitude that we have now when it comes to enforcement. I think one of the things that we have done wrongly as South Africans is to really negotiate our laws, especially when they are broken, And I think it's about time that we are held accountable, both as politicians, as civil society, but also as the general public. I think we need to enforce our laws, because clearly there are laws that are existing that are potent to combat this kind of ills in society, but obviously we are very, very reluctant on taking a stand. And I think one of the things that you currently will find in Tshwane, you saw during the Tshwane Yatima campaign and those kind of interventions, is that there is absolute zero tolerance to lawlessness in our city, and we progressively want to go into different spaces where that zero tolerance attitude is seen not just as something that we say, but it's actually demonstrated in actual action.
Appreciate your time, Abel. Thank you very much for coming on tonight. MMC for human settlements in Tshwane, as how they will respond to the growing challenges that are brought on by climate change, especially along those dwellings, 35,000 of them that are along what is described as flood lines.